It is officially summer. It has gotten quite hot here. And summer is my least favorite season, although I am actually trying to enjoy it this year. But one of the ways I'm trying to bribe myself to enjoy this season more is by making myself cute clothes. I struggle with styling and making what I think are cute outfits in the summer, and maybe this will actually help. I'm specifically gonna make myself pieces I've been wanting for a while. And lately, I've actually been enjoying going through my closet and finding my older pieces that I just don't think are that cute anymore and flipping them into pieces that I actually really love. So on my last trip to the thrift store, I purposely went looking for pieces with good bones that maybe were a little less fashionable, that I thought maybe less people would pick up, so that I could flip them into pieces that I thought were very cute. So that's what we're doing this week. We're starting on those pieces. So let's get started. The first piece is this woman's chambray button down with this really fun floral pattern on it. It's a great medium weight fabric, and the boxy shape gives me a lot of options for the changes I want to make. And second is this bed sheet, which I actually think is pretty cute. The only thing is the top of the sheet that looks like every 90s mom dream kitchen trim, which you'll see later. I didn't show it here. For the button down, I think this would make such a fun modern version of those bustier corset cover inspired tops I've been seeing everywhere. And I found this top on Etsy. I cut it out in my size, but when I placed the pattern piece over my bust, it was a little bit small. I originally added some ease to the dart at the front, but realized that would make the straps way too wide. So instead, I just added a couple of inches to the side seam that disappeared to nothing at the waist. I also added just a bit of ease to the hips, just in case. Next up for the bed sheet, I'm going to do this faux wrap dress pattern that I bought well over a year ago, and it's finally time to use it. I bought this pattern on Etsy, which the store has now closed, but she has her own online store now with a video tutorial and links to that pattern, so I'll add the link to that video below. Now I needed one size for the top portion and the next size up for my bottom portion, so I printed both sizes out and bridged the gap between the two from waist to hip. I didn't really show this, but right here you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Now it's time to cut out those corset cover inspired pieces. And first I need to take off the front pockets, which were so well sewn on that I literally had to create small holes in the shirt, but we'll fix that later. This was a close fit. At times I had to cut ever so slightly into the sleeve at the front, and then I seam ripped that little bit that I couldn't fit at the arm's eye and then cut that out so there wouldn't be any extra thickness in my seams. Then I flipped the first piece and buttoned it to the other side to make sure they were perfectly lined up and cut out the mirror image for my second piece. The back was an even tighter fit. I couldn't even put my side back piece completely on grain, but I did my best and got as close as I could. Lastly, I used the top back section that had 2 layers to cut out my tabs for the lace-up back. Before sitting down to sew, I ironed down my darts and created my tabs by turning each long raw edge into the middle and then folding that in half. This system makes really strong tabs and ties. In fact, I'll be using it later for my second project. Then I stitched all the tabs down and edge finished the ends. For those little holes left from the pockets, I once again turned to this segmented zigzag stitch that I usually use on stretch fabrics, and I turned the width down and made it tiny. That way I could stitch over the holes and it would hopefully stay together. Then I stitched down all the darts. Next, it was time to stitch down the seams for the lacing, and I clipped the seams to make the curves match. I also added a row of top stitching that the pattern didn't have. This adds nice stability and strength to any area that's going to be under a lot of stress, like a lace-up panel. Then I put the rest at the top together. I ended up having to shorten the vertical fisheye darts to make more room for my bust at the top, so I shortened it by about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. Then it was time to finish the arm's eyes with some bias tape. I also added bias tape to the hem as well. It was actually really hard to find eyelet lace with ribbon already threaded through it, so I had to do it myself. Then I attached it to the neckline, tucking under the raw hem so that it would be stitched down, and then I sewed along that bottom edge. It was actually great that I had threaded the lace myself because I could take that same ribbon and lace it through the back, which made everything match. And project 1 is done. Let's do our little baking break. Now it's time to tackle the bed sheet. This is a twin flat sheet, which I knew was going to be a bit of a tight fit for me, and I ended up having to leave an extra flap on the side so I could have 2 layers for my front and back sections, but still have enough space for that one faux wrap section at the front. Then I used that very 90s floral top section to make my ties, and as always, autofocus is hard at work not focusing on what I needed to. I started by stitching down all the darts, as that's always going to be your first step. I ended up having to go in and lengthen and widen the back vertical darts a little bit, but I'm actually very happy with that as my weight fluctuates, and I can just take those out if my weight changes again in the future. Then I ironed down the ties just like I had done with the tabs in the last project, just longer. Then I had to tackle my arch nemesis, a zipper, more specifically an invisible zipper. If you're willing to keep the top portion a little bit looser, I actually don't think you need this, but I didn't know that at the time. But I will say, this is one of the more successful invisible zippers I've ever done, but I wouldn't call it invisible, just slightly less visible, especially because I went back over it with some top stitching because I was noticing how light the fabric was and I was very scared that it would get stuck. Then it was time for a lot of bias tape additions. The front flap requires it on 2 edges, and then you will have 3 different other areas in the dress itself for the sides of the slits so that everything will lay correctly when you tie the wrap portion, and then you'll eventually add it to the arm size and neckline. Now I've come to absolutely love adding bias tape, partially because I just hate facings, but just know you'll be doing this step for a very long time. After the back, front, and front panel had all the individual stitching done, it was finally time to put the dress together. It was at about this time during the project that I realized what had probably drawn me to this pattern to begin with, which was this vintage pattern that went viral a few years ago. I'd actually bought this pattern before it went viral, but when everyone was talking about it, they discussed how weird the fit was, and as someone who doesn't do mock-ups, I didn't feel like dealing with that. So I think my brain was just super drawn to this because it's more of a modern version of that dress, but I would love to tackle that dress one day. I'm still obsessed with it. Then it was time to put those 2 front pieces together with the back piece, putting that second tie in the waist. At some point, I also took in the side seams above the bust darts, but I also kept that excess fabric just in case in the future. Lastly, it was time to finish the arm size and neckline with bias tape once again. I've been noticing I've finally gotten a little low with this green bulk bias tape I bought in like October of 2024. And through these very bias tape heavy projects, she's still going strong somehow. She looks low to me, but she's still going. And the last step was to finally hem the dress. If you want a more professional looking hem without having to hand stitch it like I did in college, what I found is actually making a larger hem makes it look a little bit fancier for some reason. So after trimming off that little bit of excess I had in the front sections, I marked where I wanted to fold it. Then I folded and ironed under 1/2 inch, and then folded again at 2 inches, and once again ironed that down. Then I just stitched near that top fold, and I think this just looks a little bit more expensive in my opinion than the traditional 1/2 inch hem. And with that, it's time to show you the final result. I'm in love with this top. I think it has the perfect mix of modern with a sprinkle of historical inspiration, which I always love to add. The modern floral with the more classic silhouette and the vintage looking lace is just such a cool mixture, and it was a really easy project that was relatively quick to get through. I really enjoy this piece. It's unique but super wearable and just a great summery piece. This dress is everything I dreamed it would be. The bedsheet is so light, and with the pattern, it's just the perfect summer dress. I also think the slightly different ties are such a cute detail, and a wrap dress is always pretty, but the way this is wrapped feels really special. And because it was an old bedsheet, it's also very comfortable. I just love both of these pieces so much, and the added process of transformation from like a thrift flip is always so satisfying. My brain just stopped working. That's gonna be it for me this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to subscribe so that you can see future videos from me, and also liking and commenting also really help. And I hope to see you back here next time. Bye.